The police officer's boots crunched on my gravel driveway as I watched through the blinds, heart hammering against my ribs. My own mother had called them, all because I refused to open my door. The ultimate irony? She thought they'd force me to let my family in. Instead, they escorted everyone off my property while my relatives' faces twisted with rage and betrayal. This is how buying my dream house became the beginning of losing everyone I thought loved me, and why it was the best decision I've ever made. 6 months before that day, I stood alone in my empty living room, keys still warm in my palm, tears streaming down my face. At 31, after years of saving every possible penny from my accounting job, I'd finally done it. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a backyard that stretched like my own private sanctuary. The afternoon sunlight slanted through spotless windows, catching dust motes that danced in the emptiness waiting to be filled with my life, only my life. After years of paper-thin apartment walls where neighbors' arguments became my unwanted lullabies, I finally had space that belonged entirely to me. I ran my fingers along the cool kitchen countertops, picturing morning coffees in perfect silence. I stepped onto the terrace, closing my eyes to breathe in air that smelled like freshly cut grass and possibility. That night, I slept on a mattress on the floor, wrapped in silence so complete it felt like a physical presence holding me. For the first time in my adult life, I didn't hear a single footstep above my head or muffled television through the walls. The quiet was intoxicating. 2 weeks later, drunk on homeowner pride, I threw a housewarming party. My parents arrived first, Mom immediately commenting on how I needed more decorative pillows, Dad whistling at the size of the backyard. Then came my older sister Jennifer with her husband Christopher and their 2 kids, 5-year-old Lily with her perpetually sticky fingers and 7-year-old Ethan who couldn't seem to sit still for more than 30 seconds. "This place is huge," Jennifer said the moment she walked through my front door, her eyes scanning every corner with an intensity that made me slightly uncomfortable. "Thanks. I worked really hard for it," I replied, leading everyone toward the kitchen where I'd laid out appetizers that had taken me all morning to prepare. Dad immediately gravitated toward the terrace, stepping outside with that appreciative whistle he always made when he was impressed. "This backyard could fit a football field, Hannah." I beamed with pride, watching him take in the space I'd fallen in love with instantly. Jennifer appeared beside us with Christopher trailing behind, but her next words hit me like a slap I wasn't expecting. "Honestly, Hannah, this house is way too big for just one person. A family with kids would really make use of all this space." Something in my chest tightened. I forced a smile, that uncomfortable feeling already creeping up my spine. "Anyone want to see my office?" The rest of the evening went well enough. Everyone praised the food, seemed genuinely happy for me, and I went to bed feeling like maybe hosting family events could become my thing. The house had felt alive with all the laughter and conversation. I had absolutely no idea what I was setting myself up for. Christmas came 2 months later. I went all out, a 7-foot tree glittering in the corner, garlands draped over every doorway, guest rooms prepared with fresh linens and tiny welcome baskets. My parents came early to help, though Mom mostly rearranged my decorations while Dad claimed the best spot on the couch. Jennifer's family stayed overnight, and extended family drove in from hours away. Uncle Stephen and Aunt Helen with their perpetual comments about my single status, my cousin Victoria with her new boyfriend, everyone was there, filling my home with the chaos of family. Watching everyone relax in my space felt wonderful, like I was finally contributing something meaningful to our family dynamic. The kids played quietly while adults lingered around the table with coffee and dessert. This was exactly what I'd imagined when I bought the place. "We should do this more often," Mom said, looking completely content on my sofa. "Hannah's place is perfect for family gatherings." "Thanks for everything, Hannah," Jennifer added as she packed up. This was exactly what Christmas should be. After everyone left, I walked through my quiet house feeling genuinely happy. Maybe this was my role in the family, the one with the perfect space for bringing everyone together. 3 weeks later, my phone rang with news that would change everything. "Hi, honey, I have some news." Mom's voice was bright with excitement. "Ethan's birthday is coming up in 2 weeks, and Jennifer wants to throw him a big party with lots of kids and an animator." "That sounds nice," I said, not seeing where this was heading. "Well, her apartment is way too small for 15 children, so we all decided it would be better to have it at your house." My stomach dropped like an elevator with snapped cables. "What?" Mom, I don't want a children's party at my house. But Hannah, honey, Jennifer's place can't fit 15 kids. Your backyard is perfect for it. The thought of 15 screaming children running wild through my peaceful sanctuary made me feel physically sick. I looked around at my cream-colored furniture, my carefully organized bookshelves, my pristine kitchen. Mom, why don't you just book a children's center? They have cafes and animators there. It would be much better. Her voice cooled instantly. Those places are expensive and your house is free. Plus, the kids would love all that space. I felt trapped in a corner I hadn't even seen coming. Fine, but Jennifer has to clean up everything afterward. That's my only condition. Of course, dear. She'll take care of everything. 2 weeks later, my house was invaded. 15 8-year-olds showed up with their parents, who immediately disappeared, leaving me with chaos I couldn't have imagined in my worst nightmares. The animator was some overwhelmed college kid who lost control within the first 10 minutes. Jennifer spent most of the party on her phone while kids ran wild through every single room of my house. They tracked mud through my pristine kitchen, jumped on my couch with hands sticky from cake and ice cream, and somehow managed to get chocolate fingerprints on walls I didn't even think they could reach. I found 2 boys drawing on my home office wall with markers. Another child had spilled juice on my laptop. A little girl was bouncing on my bed with her shoes on, her muddy footprints forming a perfect timeline of her journey through my bedroom. The backyard looked like a tornado had touched down. Toys scattered everywhere, drinks spilled on my outdoor furniture, and someone had used sticks to draw in the dirt around my flower beds. Kids were running upstairs into my bedroom, going through my office, and one even tried to climb onto my dining room table. I spent the entire party following them around, trying to prevent total destruction of everything I'd worked so hard for. By the time the last child left, my throat was raw from forced smiles and barely contained anxiety. When the last parent finally picked up their child, I found Jennifer sitting on my couch looking exhausted. Okay, time to start cleaning, I said, surveying the disaster zone that used to be my home. Jennifer stood up slowly, grabbing her purse. Actually, I'm completely dead tired. I need to get home to Christopher and the kids. What? We agreed you'd clean up afterward. My voice cracked with disbelief. She smiled at me like I was being completely ridiculous. Hannah, you don't have kids or a family to take care of. You can handle this yourself. I have to get home to make dinner for my husband and put my children to bed. She called for Lily and Ethan, and they walked right past me like I was invisible, heading for the door. Thanks for letting us use your place, she called over her shoulder. I stood in the middle of my trashed house, surrounded by sticky plates, crushed crackers ground into my carpet, and streamers hanging from my ceiling fan. The silence I used to love now felt crushing and hollow. I had to call a professional cleaning service because there was no way I could handle this mess alone. 4 workers showed up the next morning with industrial equipment, and it took them 6 hours to get my house back to normal. When they handed me the bill, I nearly choked. $850. I took a picture of that receipt and sent it to our family group chat with a message. Jennifer should pay this since she was supposed to clean up after the party. My phone exploded within minutes. Jennifer, are you seriously asking me to pay for your house cleaning? Mom, Hannah, that's very greedy of you. It was just a children's party. Christopher, we can't afford that right now. Kids make messes. It's normal. Dad, I'm disappointed in you, Hannah. Family helps family. I stared at those messages, each one hitting like a physical blow. The unfairness of it burned in my chest. I'd already sacrificed my home, my weekend, my peace, and now I was being called greedy for expecting the cleanup I was promised. Finally, I typed back, never mind, forget I asked. The chat went quiet after that. I turned off my phone and spent the rest of the day working, trying to pretend the whole thing had never happened. A month passed peacefully. I got back into my routine, morning coffee on the terrace, quiet work days in my office, evenings reading or watching Netflix. My house felt like mine again, and I almost forgot about the birthday party disaster. Then came that first Saturday morning that changed everything. I was in my pajamas working on quarterly reports when I heard cars pulling into my driveway. Through my office window, I saw Mom and Dad getting out, followed by Lily and Ethan jumping out of the back seat. My stomach twisted. No warning. No call. No text. Just an assumption that my time and space were always available. I threw on a robe and opened the front door. "Hey, what are you guys doing here?" "We were in the neighborhood and thought we'd stop by," Mom said, pushing right past me into the house. The kids wanted to see their Aunt Hannah. "We want to play in the backyard," Lily announced, already heading for the sliding door. "Hold on," I said, tightening my robe belt. "I'm actually working right now. Maybe you could call first next time?" Dad was already settling into my recliner with the TV remote. "Don't mind us. We'll just hang out for a bit." "Actually," Mom called from the kitchen, "we're pretty hungry." "You have eggs and bacon? Maybe some pancakes too?" Before I knew it, I was cooking breakfast for 4 unexpected guests while trying to keep an eye on the kids through the window as they ran around my yard, picking flowers from the garden I'd just planted and throwing dirt at each other. "This is nice," Dad said, not looking away from my TV. "We should do this more often." They stayed until 8 that evening. They ate everything in my refrigerator, the lunch I cooked, leftover takeout I was saving for dinner, yogurt, fruit, even the emergency frozen pizzas I kept for busy nights. Mom made herself completely at home, reorganizing my spice cabinet to be helpful. The kids tracked mud through the house again, and Dad commandeered my streaming services all day, making it impossible for me to work. When they finally left, they didn't even say goodbye properly. Just called out thanks for lunch as they headed to their car. I was left with a sink full of dishes and 6 hours of work I needed to catch up on. I stayed up until 2 in the morning finishing reports that should have been done by noon. The following Saturday, it happened again. Same routine, unexpected arrival, demands for food, kids destroying my yard, parents taking over my living room. This time, Mom insisted I order pizza for everyone. I tried to work in my office, but the kids were screaming in the backyard and my parents were having loud conversations on the terrace. I closed my window, but I could still hear everything. Sunday night, I'd had enough. I opened our family group chat and typed, "I need to set some boundaries. I can't have surprise visits every weekend anymore. You're disrupting my work schedule and leaving messes for me to clean up. If you want to visit, please call first and plan to clean up after yourselves." The response was immediate and brutal. "Mom, I can't believe you're being so ungrateful. We just want to spend time with you." "Dad, this is how family works, Hannah. We support each other." "Jennifer, wow. So you hate having your nephews visit? That's really sad." "Christopher, you're acting like spending money on family is some huge burden." "Very greedy." The messages kept coming for hours. I felt sick reading them, so I closed the chat without responding. The next Saturday, I heard cars in my driveway again. This time it wasn't just my parents and the kids. I peeked through my blinds and saw Uncle Stephen and Aunt Helen getting out too, along with my cousin Victoria and her husband Kevin. Mom knocked on my door. Surprise! We were all in the area and decided to visit. I opened the door, already exhausted. "All of you were just in the area? What a coincidence." Aunt Helen laughed. "Stephen suggested we all stop by since you have such a lovely home." They filed into my house like they owned it. Uncle Stephen immediately headed for the terrace. "Perfect day to sit outside. You don't mind if we stay for lunch, do you?" It wasn't really a question. Victoria was already exploring my kitchen. "Hannah, do you have sandwich stuff? We could make a big lunch spread on the terrace." "Actually, why don't we just order food again?" Mom suggested. "It's easier." I found myself ordering $75 worth of food while 6 adults made themselves comfortable and the kids tore up my backyard again. They stayed until almost midnight, talking and laughing while I calculated how many work hours I was losing. As they were finally getting ready to leave, Aunt Helen hugged Mom. What a wonderful idea this was, having Saturdays at Hannah's place. We should definitely do this every week. My blood turned cold. Every week. That sounds perfect, Mom beamed. Hannah loves having family around. I spent the entire week dreading Saturday. The thought of another invasion made my stomach twist every time I thought about it. By Friday night, I'd made my decision. I simply wouldn't open the door. Saturday morning came, and right on schedule, I heard the familiar sound of multiple cars pulling into my driveway. I peeked through my blinds and saw the same group as last week: Mom, Dad, the kids, Uncle Stephen, Aunt Helen, Victoria, and Kevin, all heading toward my front door like they owned the place. The knocking started immediately. "Hannah, we're here," Mom called out cheerfully. I stayed in my office chair, heart pounding. The knocking got louder. "Hannah, your car's in the driveway, so we know you're home," Dad shouted. I took a deep breath and walked to the door. "I'm not letting you in today," I called through the wood. Silence. Then an explosion of voices. "What do you mean you're not letting us in?" Mom's voice was shrill. "Open this door right now," Uncle Stephen demanded. "Aunt Hannah, we want to play," Lily whined. "I told you all last week that I need boundaries," I said loudly. "I'm working today and I don't want visitors." Mom started pounding on the door harder. "Hannah, you're embarrassing us in front of the whole neighborhood. Open this door immediately." "No. I asked you to call first and you ignored me. I asked you to clean up after yourselves and you ignored me. Now I'm asking you to leave." The pounding continued, and I could hear the kids starting to cry. My neighbors were probably getting quite a show. "Fine," Mom screamed. "I'll call the police. They'll make you let us in." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Mom, the police don't force people to let family into their homes." "We'll see about that." I heard her dialing. This was insane. My own mother was calling the police on me because I wouldn't open my door. 20 minutes later, I heard new voices outside. Through the window, I saw 2 police officers approaching my door, and my heart was racing so hard I thought it might burst. The knocking was much calmer now. "Ma'am, could you open the door please? We'd like to speak with you." I unlocked the door and opened it, facing 2 tired-looking cops and 8 furious family members standing behind them. The older officer looked confused. "Your mother says you're refusing to allow your family inside?" "That's correct. This is my house and I don't want visitors today. I've asked them to leave my property and they're refusing." "She's being cruel and unreasonable," Mom burst out. "We just want to visit." The officer held up his hand to quiet her, then looked back at me. "Ma'am, is this your house?" "Yes, officer. I own it. I have every right to decide who comes in." He nodded firmly. "You absolutely do. And you have the right to ask people to leave your property, even family members." Everyone behind him gasped. "What?" Aunt Helen sputtered. "You can't be serious." "I'm completely serious," the officer replied. "This lady has every legal right to deny entry to anyone she chooses. You all need to leave her property now." Mom's face was bright red. "You're making a huge mistake, officer. Family should be together." "Ma'am, the only people making mistakes here are you folks for refusing to leave when asked. If you don't leave now, we'll have to cite you for trespassing." I watched my entire family's faces go through stages of shock and anger. Lily and Ethan were clinging to their grandparents, looking confused and scared. "Fine," Dad said coldly. "We'll leave. But this isn't over, Hannah." They started walking toward their cars, throwing angry looks over their shoulders. Mom was the last to go. "You're going to regret this," she hissed at me. After they drove away, the older officer shook his head. "Family disputes are always messy. You might want to consider getting a restraining order if this continues, though honestly, you probably don't have grounds for one yet. Try to work this out between yourselves if possible." "Thank you, officers. I appreciate your help." They left, and I closed my door, sliding down against it until I was sitting on my entryway floor. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. I couldn't believe I'd just had police remove my own family from my property. My phone started buzzing immediately, but not with direct messages to me. They'd added people to our family group chat, all the aunts and uncles I hadn't seen in years, cousins from across the country, even some family friends. The messages were absolutely brutal. "Cousin Trevor, Just heard what happened. Can't believe Hannah called the cops on her own parents. Of course, Mom didn't mention that she was the one who called the police, not me. Aunt Rose, what kind of person locks out their family? This is disgusting. Uncle Walter always knew that girl was selfish. Living in that big house all alone while refusing to share it. The messages kept pouring in. People I hadn't talked to in years were discussing my life like I wasn't even in the chat. Mom was responding to every single comment, agreeing and adding her own complaints. I don't know where I went wrong raising her, Mom wrote. We just wanted to spend time together as a family. Aunt Helen, she's completely heartless. Those poor children were so excited to play in her yard. Victoria, I can't believe she wasted police time over this. So embarrassing. I scrolled through dozens of messages, each one hitting like a punch to the stomach. These people didn't know the whole story, but they were ready to crucify me based on Mom's version of events. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I left the group chat and blocked all notifications. The damage was done. My entire extended family now thought I was some kind of monster who called the police on her loving parents for no reason. I sat in my quiet house that night, realizing that my family would never understand. They saw my boundaries as selfishness, my need for privacy as cruelty, and my home as their property to use whenever they wanted. Something had to change. I couldn't live like this, constantly defending my right to exist peacefully in my own space. Monday morning, I called my lawyer. So you want to legally prevent your family from coming to your house? He asked after I explained everything. If that's possible, yes. He sighed. Hannah, you don't have sufficient grounds for a restraining order. They haven't threatened you with violence or caused property damage you can prove. Not letting them into your house is your right, but they can keep showing up on your property as long as they leave when asked. I felt defeated. So there's nothing I can do? You could try family counseling, but it sounds like they're not interested in respecting boundaries. My advice? Sometimes the best solution is distance. Physical distance. That afternoon, I called my realtor friend Madison. You want to sell already? Hannah, you just bought this place 6 months ago. I know it sounds crazy, but I need to get out of this city. Can you sell it quickly in this market? Absolutely. Houses like yours are in high demand. I could probably have it sold within a month if you're willing to price it right. Do it. Next, I called my best friend Kelly, who lived in the neighboring state. We'd been friends since high school, and she'd been begging me to move closer for years. I need to ask you a huge favor. Can I stay with you for a few weeks while I look for a house out there? Of course. But why? What happened? I told her everything. Kelly listened without interrupting, making the occasional angry noise when I described the birthday party or the police incident. 2 days later, I packed my most important belongings, left the keys with Madison, and drove 6 hours to Kelly's apartment. She helped me start looking for houses online immediately. Look at this one, she said, showing me a listing on her laptop. Similar to your old place, but the backyard is even bigger and it has a pool. The house was perfect. Same style as my old one, but updated with a gorgeous yard and that pool I'd always wanted. I made an offer that same day. 3 weeks later, Madison called with good news. Sold. The buyers love the place and want to close as soon as possible. That was fast. I told you your house was exactly what people are looking for. Another week passed before I got the call that changed everything. My cousin Hope called my cell phone. Hey, Hannah. I wanted to give you a heads up about this weekend. Your parents and aunts and uncles are all planning to show up at your house again. They're bringing even more kids this time, all the cousins and their children. Mom said they figure you can't possibly keep out that many family members. I almost laughed. Is that right? Yeah, they're really excited about it. They think you'll have to let them in if there are like 20 people there. Thanks for the warning, Hope. Are you okay? You sound weird. I'm fine. Thanks for calling. Saturday came, and my phone started ringing at exactly 11 in the morning. I was sitting by my new pool, enjoying the sunshine and the complete silence. I didn't answer. The calls kept coming. Dad, Mom, Jennifer, Uncle Steven. I let them all go to voicemail. Then the texts started. Dad, why aren't you answering your door? Mom, there are strangers in your house. Where are you? Jennifer, some couple with kids answered your door. What's going on? Uncle Steven, did you move? Why didn't you tell us? I smiled and turned off my phone. That evening, I finally turned it back on. There were 37 missed calls and twice as many text messages, all variations of the same confusion and anger. Finally, Mom called one more time. This time, I answered. Where are you? She screamed before I could say hello. There are strangers living in your house. Where the hell are you? I'm in my new house in a different state. Silence. What do you mean new house? I sold the old one and moved away. I got tired of you people treating my home like your personal playground. You can't be serious. You moved away because of us? I moved away because you wouldn't respect my boundaries. I asked nicely. I set clear limits and you ignored everything I said, so I left. Mom started crying. Hannah, you can't do this to us. We just wanted to spend time with you. We love you. That wasn't love, Mom. That was you using me. Love would have meant respecting my space and my time. Please, honey. We can work this out. We'll do better. I promise. It's too late. I'm done. You can't be done with your family. Watch me. I hung up and immediately blocked everyone's phone numbers. All of them. For months after that, I lived peacefully in my new house. I worked from my new office, swam in my pool, and enjoyed the kind of quiet I'd forgotten was possible. Kelly visited on weekends sometimes, and we'd sit on my deck drinking wine and laughing about how ridiculous my old life had been. 6 months after I moved, I got an email from Mom. Somehow, she'd found my work email address. Dear Hannah, I hope you're well. We all miss you terribly and realize now that we may have been too demanding of your time and space. We've talked it over as a family, and we understand we made mistakes. We would love the chance to visit you in your new home and show you that we can respect your boundaries. Please consider letting us back into your life. Love, Mom. I read it 3 times, feeling absolutely nothing. No anger, no sadness, no temptation to respond. The woman who wrote this email was the same one who had called the police when I wouldn't open my door. The same one who had watched her other daughter stick me with an $800 cleaning bill and called me greedy for asking for reimbursement. The same one who had spent months turning my home into a free restaurant and daycare center. I deleted the email and blocked that address too. I live quietly now. My house is exactly how I like it. My weekends are my own, and nobody shows up demanding food or leaving messes for me to clean. Sometimes I wonder if I overreacted, if I should have tried harder to make it work. Then I remember what it felt like to dread Saturday mornings, to have my work interrupted by people who saw my boundaries as suggestions, and to be called cruel for wanting basic respect in my own home. I don't wonder anymore. I made the right choice. Sometimes family isn't the people you're related to. It's the people who actually treat you like family should, with respect, consideration, and genuine love that doesn't come with conditions or expectations of what you owe them simply for existing. Thanks for listening, and if you liked this story, share it with others, and don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about finding the courage to choose your own peace over everyone else's expectations. Remember, sometimes the bravest act of self-love is walking away from the people who make you feel small.